Jesus told this story to his disciples. He said there was a certain rich man who had a manager handling his affairs. So there's a rich man, there's a man who's got all of these resources and he's got all of these things, but he's allowing someone else to manage it. He's giving someone else stewardship over what he possesses. So the manager is not managing his stuff, he's managing somebody else's stuff, all right? We're good? All right, so we got a manager who's managing the affairs, and one day a report came to the manager to the ruler that the manager was wasting his employer's money. He was a steward of other people's money, and he's not doing right. He's corrupt or he's stealing. So the employer called him and he said, "What's this I hear about you? Get your report in order, get the books all caught up, because you are going to be fired. I'm firing you. I'm losing you. You haven't been doing what you said. You've had all of my resources. You've been investing in them, using them unwisely. You've been corrupt with what you're doing. So get things in order because I am taking you out." The manager thought to himself, now what? My boss has fired me. I'm not going to go work at McDonald's. I'm not going back to dig ditches or something crazy. I got to figure out, what am I going to do? I've got to somehow find a way that I can see myself still in this place in life and gainfully employed and in a good spot. So what am I going to do? Because I don't want to go back and be digging these ditches. My boss has fired me. I don't have the strength to dig ditches, and I'm too proud to beg. Say, I know how to ensure that I'll have plenty of friends who will give me a home when I'm fired. This is a story that Jesus told to teach something incredible. So we're like, wow, what's he talking about here? So here's a guy who has not been faithful with the resources that God had given him, but he decides, wow, I got to find a way to make sure that I'm still gainfully employed or taken care of. So he said, I know what I'll do. Verse 5. So he invited each person who owed money to his employer. He invited each of the people where he invested money and expected a return. He invited these people all to come to his employer to come and discuss the situation. And he asked the first one, "How much do you owe?" And he replied, "I owe 800 gallons of olive oil." So the manager took the bill and he quickly changed it to 400 gallons. Woohoo! That's a pretty good deal. I mean, I used to owe you for 800, and now I only owe 400. This is a story that Jesus told. He gave him a massive discount. Now, it could be that he had a huge commission over top. It could be that, that's the corruption he was operating in. He was skimming off the top. But, he gave this guy a massive discount. This guy, if you got a massive discount, if you got like half your mortgage canceled by a phone call tomorrow, anybody be a little bit happy? You know what? Don't make your car payments anymore. We're going to just give you the car. Whoa! Now, so something happened here. So then he says, "How much do you owe?" The next man, he said 100 bushels of wheat. And he replied and he said, I'm going to change that to 800 bushels. And then listen to verse 8. The rich man had to admire the dishonest rascal. He had to admire the dishonest rascal for being so shrewd. And it is true that the children of this world are more shrewd in dealing with the world around them than the children of light. It's interesting that the children of this world are better at dealing with things in this world than the children of light. This is Jesus telling a story, and this is Jesus making some conclusions. Are you okay? Verse 9, very important, verse 9. Here's the lesson. Turn to your neighbor and say, pay attention. Here is the lesson. Use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. The King James says, make friends with money. So you're going, I got to make friends with money? Hey, money, how you doing? I love you. I think you're awesome. No. That's not what you do. But with money, make friends. Use your money making friends. He says, make friends with money. Use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. Then, when your possessions are gone, they will welcome you to an eternal home. So this is all about how to use wealth. This is all about Jesus is trying to teach his followers generosity and giving. And it seems like a really kooky story to try to tell people how to give. Verse 10, and if you are faithful in the little things, you will be faithful in the large ones. But if you're dishonest in the little things, you won't be honest in the greater responsibilities. If you are untrustworthy about worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches of heaven? I want the riches of heaven. I want revival. I want to steward the glory. I want to touch the nations. If you can't figure out how to deal properly with the resources and the stewardship that God has given you right now, how will he ever trust you with true riches? Because when he's saying true riches, he's not talking about true sums of money. He's saying the true riches of the kingdom. And Jesus is saying the real test, the real acid test, if you're going to operate in the fullness of the kingdom, is what are you doing with your stewardship of what he has given you? Say amen. If you can't, say oh me. If you are untrustworthy with worldly wealth, who will trust you with true riches, the riches of heaven? If you're unfaithful with other people's things, why should you be trusted with your own? Wow, just turn and say, wow. So Jesus uses a strictly secular framework to tell his followers how to use the resources. A strictly secular framework. Well, that sounds carnal. This sounds like the ways of the world. Jesus used a strictly secular framework to tell his followers how to use their resources. He was wiser about the use of his money than you are, and you're my disciples. This guy, this secular guy, he wasn't even a good manager, but he was smart enough to make friends with money. This is the big part of the picture. Because, you can't take all kinds of principles out of a story that Jesus told, or you'll create all kinds of false doctrine. You can only take the one principle that he's trying to teach. What is he trying to teach? What is he trying to teach? Thank you, Pastor. Number one, first thing you need to know is you're managing God's stuff. Now, I know stuff, that sounds rough, but if I used a bigger sentence, it would have gone off the screen. So, listen. You don't own a thing. Nothing. In him we live and we move and we have our being. And if you wiggle it all under that, you really don't get the revelation that God owns it all. If you have a great big revelation of how awesome he is and how wonderful he is and how much he loves you, that won't trouble you a single bit. Because you'll know that the one who has abundance out of abundance blesses me ridiculously. So you know what? Here's true freedom in every financial realm. You own it all. And when you can say you own it all, you've opened yourself up to supernatural, ridiculous flow of God's goodness. If you hang on, I better hang on. How am I going to get that? The hanging on leads to lack. The releasing leads to ridiculous blessing. Turn to your neighbor who can't grunt out an amen and say, last week we talked about casting out devils. Be free. 1 Chronicles 29. David, some say it could be somewhere between $39 billion and $65 billion is what David gave as an offering to build the temple. Billions. Billions. But when David gave it, David was like, both riches and honor come from you. And you reign over all. In your hand is power and might. In your hand it is to make great and to give strength to all. For all things come from you, and all things are of you. So for all the things, what I'm giving back to you right now, you gave me to give. So this is really no big deal, because what I'm giving, doesn't make me awesome. My giving shows how awesome you are, not how awesome I am. Because everything I'm able to do right now, it all came from you anyway. But I love this cycle of giving and receiving. I love this cycle of just enjoying you. Giving is so liberating and so freeing. It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. Another verse here. Look at this one. Here it comes right now. It's right there. Proverbs 3, 9, and 10. Honor the Lord with your possessions and with the first fruits of all of your increase. First fruits means the first fruit, which is the first tenth, the first portion. Every single thing that comes into your life, every first part of increase, honor the Lord with the first part. Put him first, not less. Don't balance your checkbook and then go, oh, sorry, God, paid all the bills. You're out this month. Maybe next month. The bills will be smaller, and I can choke out a little offering for you. He's first. Say first. And it's not because he's uptight. It's because he wants you to step into a cycle of blessing. If you do that, of all your increase, it says, here's what happens. Your barns are filled with plenty. How many have a barn? That's so good. We do have a barn dweller with us. That's awesome. Has pigs and goats and all those wonderful things. Your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will overflow with new wine. This is just an absolute sign that when you put God first, God will make sure that he is the cause of every effect in your life. And if you're going to say, hey, why are you so blessed? I'm a child of God.